Belated apology. In the small house by the sea, there are 3 children from Mrs. Bay's family. The eldest son is named Tuan and the second son is named Ha. Tuan is 17 years old this year, Ha is only 14. Because his family is poor, Tuan stopped studying at the age of 15. He stayed at home to help his mother go to the sea to fish and feed his younger brother Ha. Tuan's father died in an accident at sea on his 13th birthday. That's why the 2 Tuan brothers love their mother very much. Even though their family is poor, Mrs. Bay doesn't let Tuan and Ha lack anything. On holidays or Tet, whatever the family gets, she brings it to the market to exchange for clothes. Nice clothes for the 2 Tuan brothers to wear, but whatever for me. Near the neighborhood, there were a few children who often bullied little Ha. Because Ha was very weak and often cried, Tuan was always by Ha's side. Whenever anyone touched his sister, he would beat her. On a hot sunny day, Tuan and a group of his friends were playing blindfolded goat catching, when Mr. Hai's son Teo ran from somewhere and invited them all to go watch a soccer match. Because Tuan has been passionate about soccer since he was young, as soon as he heard his friend invite him, he immediately ran after him. Ha chased after him but couldn't keep up, so he had to sneak home and tell his mother. "Mommy, my second brother went to Mr. Teo's house to watch soccer without letting me go with him." Hearing Ha's pampering voice made her stop mending the fishing net, turn to look at her beloved daughter and smile slightly. Then she got up and went to the kitchen to get a few plastic bags, then walked out to the big pile of straw next to the neighbor's house, took some, stuffed it into the bag and tied it up. After she finished, she sat and shaped it to make it round. Little Ha saw her mother doing it, and out of curiosity, she asked, "What are you doing, Mom?" "Mom is making a ball for baby Ha and Mr. Tuan to play with," she smiled. Baby Ha heard her mother say that and happily jumped up, hugged her neck, kissed her cheek, then sat and watched her work. After finishing, she gave it to baby Ha. She stood and looked at the ball forever and then grinned. The ball wasn't very round, but she really liked it and thought the balls on the market weren't as beautiful. At noon, when Tuan just returned home, little Ha held the ball and showed it to him. But Tuan didn't even look and went straight into the house. Mrs. Bay saw that and immediately asked, "What's wrong with you? Don't you like playing soccer very much?" she said and smiled gently. Tuan grimaced, then showed a grumpy attitude and said to her, "Mom, look, tomorrow all my friends will go to the city. They say I'm grown up and don't know how to work and make money, so I stay at home all day and eat at your mother's expense. Mom, go make money for me. I'll go with them tomorrow." He said it like he was shouting at her. She sat and looked at her son, then tears gently fell. She walked closer to him, patted his head and said, "Okay, I'll borrow money for you this afternoon," she said chokingly. Baby Ha stood there and cried loudly. She didn't think that her second brother would raise his voice to his mother like that. She knew that no matter how much he went to Saigon, his second brother would be a bad person, so he ran back to shake him. "Brother, don't go to Saigon. Stay here with me and Mom." "Oh. You'll be lost there," Baby Ha said while crying. "What do you know to say? I went up there to earn money for your education, you know that?" He shouted, then violently pushed Baby Ha away and left him in the room. Mrs. Bay quickly ran to hug Baby Ha in her arms. She cried. Baby Ha also cried. Where has the brother who loves his sister, the son who is filial to his mother, gone? Why is he a person who forgets his home because of competition? Mrs. Bay carried Baby Ha to bed when she fell asleep, then went out to borrow money. She went from afternoon to 8 o'clock in the evening, borrowed only 1 million. As soon as she got home, she saw Tuan standing at the door waiting for her. As soon as he saw her, he ran out to help her into the house and kept asking questions without letting her rest. "What's wrong, Mom?" "Okay. My friends just told me to go to the bus station at 12 o'clock tonight and then left." She took out the money and gave it to him. Then she looked at him and shed tears of pain. "This is 1 million. You go there. Try your best to do business. Don't practice bad things." She choked and couldn't make a sound. He took the money and quickly put it in his pocket, then stood up, went into the room, took out his backpack, and walked straight out without saying a word to her. She kept calling but he didn't listen. She ran after him and tripped. Little Ha stood hiding in the corner of the house crying. Seeing her mother fall, she ran out to help her mother and screamed. "You're too much. You're so worried about having fun that when Mom falls, you don't even help her. You're already different. You're just being demanding. You are like a deaf person. Just keep running." Unconsciously, he really wanted to run back to help her, but for some reason, he couldn't turn back. Just running and running until he reached the bus station. He climbed into the car and sat with his friends. As for her and Baby Ha, after helping her stand up, she was still crying. It's not that she blamed him. She cried because she was worried about him. Up there was a foreign land. She didn't know how he was doing and didn't know if was beaten by the people up there. The more she thought about it, the sadder she became. Tears fell again. Little Ha sitting next to her saw her mother like that, hugged her and also cried. Just a few days ago, Baby Ha is now 20 years old. Ha's current job is a trainee teacher for a school in the city. Mrs. Bay still fishes to feed her. Early in the morning, She rushed out to catch a bus to go to school. She taught until late at night before returning home. Mrs. Bay was old now. Many times she told her mother to stay home. She had enough money to teach. Gave it to mother and child, but she refused. She kept saying she was a fisherman and sent the money to Tuan. Ha could only look at her mother. She saw that her second brother was really unfilial. He had been gone for 6 years without calling or writing a letter home. Mrs. Bay kept looking out the gate day and night, waiting for Tuan's figure to return, but she still didn't see it. She felt like he no longer remembered her. The corners of her eyes were stinging. She cried again. Tears of missing his child and worrying about him. For the past 6 years, he has not written to her. Many times she thought, is it because you hate this poor situation? Or because he wanted to have fun, because he wanted to compete with his peers, he went to Saigon and left her here. Not long after she fell ill, Ha took her to the provincial hospital because she had a serious illness and was unlikely to survive. In her coma, she kept calling for Tuan, and the doctor said, "The old lady must be missing someone. You can call that person back for the old lady to see." Luckily her illness is progressing well. After hearing this, Ha immediately ran home, went to Mr. Hai's house, asked him to call Mr. Teo, Tuan's friend. Mr. Hai gave the phone to Ha. There was loud music on the other end of the line, and Ha spoke in a trembling voice that wanted to cry. "You, Teo, let me meet you too. Ha, it's me, is something wrong?" Ha heard his voice, but it wasn't just him. There were also girls' voices around. A fleeting thought. Maybe I'm in the bar. She regained composure and told Tuan about her mother's illness. "Hi, please come home. Mom misses you so much. When she was in a coma, she called your name too," Ha said while crying. Her tears were so loud that everyone who saw them felt sad. "I won't be back in 2 or 3 months. Take care of your mother. I'll hang up." Hearing that sentence, Ha seemed motionless on the spot. Is this my mother's filial son? She wandered like a lost soul back to the hospital. The silhouette of a gentle mother lying motionless on the bed, she quickly walked towards the bed and hugged her arm. Her face was clearly pale. Her hands were diligently raising her 2 brothers, who were now skinny. The bone, when held, feels like a piece of wood. She sat and looked at her mother. Even when she slept, her tears kept falling. She promised herself that she would make her mother stop missing her brother, because she was afraid that her mother would not be able to bear it and her illness would not improve. Mrs. Bay is a person who lives a meaningful life with her neighbors, so during the 2 months she was in the hospital, people in the neighborhood often came back and forth to take care of her for her, because she had to teach. Aunt Nam suffered the most. Every morning she went to the commune to bring porridge for her to eat. In about 2 weeks, she will be discharged from the hospital, so Ha asked to quit teaching to stay and take care of her. But before the day of discharge from the hospital, Ha asked her to go home earlier than planned. Her health was still not very good, but because the house was running out of money, and hospital bills at the hospital were high, Ha asked. Let her go home and take the medicine the doctor prescribed. During the time she was lying in the hospital bed, she kept calling Tuan. She longed for him to return. Even though she was sick, her eyes still looked out the window. She wanted her son to be in front of her, to hold him in her arms and take care of him like when she was a child. She wanted to hear his voice calling her when Ha was beaten by his friend. She wanted to hear compliments from him. Mom's food was so delicious today. Missing her son made her condition worse and worse. Ha could only sit and cry when she heard her keep saying, Mom can't make it, Tuan, please come see me. As each day passed, her illness got worse and worse. When she slept, she called Tuan, waiting forever to see him return. The desire to see her child seemed to gnaw at her health. She hopes that right now you are standing right here, smiling at her. Just like that, she feels happy and closes her eyes at peace. The longing is still just an empty space in front of me. The ability to resist the dangerous disease is hopeless. She passed away that night. It was raining, a terrible rain. Before she closed her eyes, she still called his name. I don't understand why it rained so heavily today, a pouring rain. Aunt Nam brought the medicine over for her to drink like every other day. The medicine cup in her hand fell to the tile floor and broke. His trembling hands gently hugged Ha, the poor girl. She took out her phone and called Tuan. She told him the story and informed him that his mother had passed away. When he heard his aunt's words, his limbs felt weak. The phone in his hand fell down, ignoring the rain outside. The rain seemed to silently blame him for being so careless. His mother was sick but did not come to visit. He quickly ran to the bus station. Now he just wants to go home quickly to see his mother. On the bus, he blamed himself. Why did he treat his mother like that? She worked hard to raise him to school and grow up. When he wanted everything, she always favored him even though the family was very poor. But when he going to the city, he was always interested in fun and forgot his gentle mother back home. Now he only wants 2 words, if only. If only last time Ha called, he should have come back. If only he hadn't chased after his friends back then. But now there's no point in saying anything anymore. There are still only 2 words left, if only. It's too late to regret my mistakes now. As soon as he arrived, Tuan suddenly saw a familiar figure lying motionless on the bed, and his younger sister was sobbing. He quickly ran to kneel down and hugged his mother. Tears began to fall. Ha stood up, grabbed his hand and shook it, saying, "Because of you, it's all because of you. Do you know how much Mom misses you? Ha! Mom missed you so much." In her trance she even called your name, and before she closed her eyes she still called your name. You know, I called you to come home. If you came home at that time, Mom's illness might have progressed. Why? Why don't you come back? Why? Hoo-hoo. He cried even harder when his sister always said it was her fault. If he had come home at that time, wouldn't her mother be lying here? Oh my God, is it your fault? Mom. I'm home. Open your eyes, Mom. Mom, he screamed in the rain. Early tomorrow morning, the two brothers and everyone took her to her final resting place. During that day, Ha fainted and refused to let her mother be taken away. After burying her, Tuan became more and more guilty, always saying it was his fault. Every day he felt like a lost soul, going to the beach to sit there for several hours before coming home. Today was no exception, but today he confided in the sea. Mom, I want to say sorry, even though I know it's late, I still want to say, I'm sorry Mom. I owe you. Mom, please forgive me for this ungrateful son. I'll take care of him for you. River. Mom, I have decided, next week I will take Ha to Saigon. I will earn money to support her and will apply for her to go to a private school to teach. Don't worry, Mom. I'm sorry. Motherhood, please do not cry, do not be so sad to hear the mother's eyes, do not.